Hey, Mark. Thanks for having us, Dan. Treat.
Thank you so much for doing this here.
Good morning, everyone. Martha, you're up.
Great.
Come on down.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Princeton Public Library. I'm Martha Hickson, and I recently retired as a high school librarian after 20 years, so I'm delighted to be back in my happy place. Thank you, Governor Murphy, and distinguished guests, all of you, for the opportunity to join you in celebrating the New Jersey Freedom to Read Act. As a librarian, the freedom to read has been at the heart of my career, but never more so than when that freedom was threatened on September 28th, 2021, the date that I became the target of book banners. On that night, a handful of parents called me by name a pedophile, pornographer, and groomer of children at a school board meeting that has since been viewed on YouTube nearly 6,000 times. They did this because they objected to 5 award-winning books for young adults, all with LGBTQ+ themes. After a 4-month reconsideration process, the board retained all 5 books, affirming that the titles met the district standards. In the meantime, however, I received hate mail, shunning by colleagues, antagonism from administrators, and calls for my firing and arrest. I have even been confronted on the street, and my car has been vandalized. In January of this year, the spouse of a board member posted videos targeting me on extremist social media sites. His actions sparked numerous vile posts, along with vulgar email sent to my school address and further slurs at board meetings. Since the posting of those videos, my name has been trashed time and again on a morning radio show, and this summer, one of the listeners sent me a threatening package of religious tracts that included "The Warning," and another entitled "The Pains of Hell, the destination she sees as my fate," just for doing my job. But I'm certainly not the only victim of these politically motivated attacks. The students I serve feel the pain too. When the books that describe their lived experience were called disgusting, obscene, and depraved, students recognized that those insults were also intended for them. The evidence of that was clear at board meetings, where students who spoke in support of the library endured taunts and jeers from book banners. Some of those kids left the podium in tears. And one of my students, who's here with me today, even received death threats after he circulated a petition in support of intellectual freedom. All of this has created a nationwide climate of fear. According to School Library Journal, nearly half of school librarians reported they had quietly removed books themselves to avoid being the target of a challenge. And those are just the librarians who admitted it. I suspect the number is actually much higher. And I know teachers who will no longer include controversial topics or titles in their classrooms for fear of being targeted too. When this self-censorship happens, it's the students who suffer. They lose the voices and stories that explore the real world beyond their own front door. Our own fear censors the material, so book banners don't have to. Although I admit that I too was fearful in the fall of 2021, I knew that the only way to stop censorship was to shine a light on it. So I started speaking out. And speaking and speaking and speaking. So in April of 2023, I appeared on a panel about education issues in Hunterdon County. Afterwards, a man approached me. He introduced himself as Senator Andrew Zwicker and asked if there was anything he could do to help. I may have been hearing things, but it was as if, in that moment, a choir of angels sang. Finally, after all my talking, the right person was listening. And that person happened to be the very definition of a public servant. I suggested to Senator Zwicker that he take a look at the anti-book banning legislation that was then days away from being adopted in Illinois. And that conversation planted the seeds for the bill that Governor Murphy will sign today, nurtured by Senate sponsors Zwicker and Ruiz, Assembly sponsors Drulis, Sumter, and Conway, and 23 bipartisan co-sponsors across both houses. Thanks to those legislators and the advocacy of countless community members and organizations, New Jersey citizens now have protections to read about the topics that interest them in their libraries. When concerns about books arise, parents now have a clear process for raising issues without resorting to bullying. And for librarians across the state, the dignity of our work will now be recognized and preserved. And all of that is truly a cause for celebration. And now, here's a treat I did not expect to find on my advent calendar. It's my sincere honor and pleasure to turn the podium over to the man who, with the stroke of a pen today, will make the season merry and bright for library users across New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy.
I just said to Martha, why do I have to follow you? What an extraordinary story. Can I come back to you in a moment, Martha? I want to just reference one other topic which is not related to the reason that we're here today, but it is so special to be here in Princeton. Hey, Sean. Before we get started, I want to mention a change to our state's congressional delegation. Yesterday, I appointed Congressman Andy Kim to the United States Senate so he can begin his term of office before the new year begins. You may also have seen that Adam Schiff in California is doing likewise. Taking this step will allow Andy to embark on the smoothest possible transition into his new role so he can best serve the people of New Jersey. I also want to thank outgoing U.S. Senator George Helmy, who stepped down yesterday, for serving as the best possible caretaker of this seat over the past 3 months. During his time in office, George introduced and co-sponsored more than 30 pieces of legislation. He has been a courageous proponent for addressing the humanitarian crisis in the Middle East. He's advocated for protecting the mental well-being of our nation's youth, and he has set a very high bar for all who follow. So we're deeply thankful for George's service and for his commitment to work closely with Andy to ensure a seamless transition on behalf of the people of New Jersey. I also want to congratulate Andy for making history as the first Asian American senator from New Jersey and as the first Korean American senator in the United States of America's history. I look forward to working with him to pursue our common agenda of fairness, freedom, and strength. So back to why we're here this morning. Good morning. And again, thanks to each and every one of you for joining us today as we sign this vitally important legislation into law. Now back to Martha. Thank you for that extraordinary story, for your generous introduction, and for all that you have done on behalf of New Jersey students and children. As you heard, Martha faced a backlash that no individual should ever experience. But through it all, she remained an unwavering champion for education, for libraries, and for the free exchange of ideas. And even though she is now retired, I am proud to say this legislation will continue her work on behalf of New Jersey's children. I know that the officials joining us today share her dedication to preserving the free exchange of knowledge and ideas. And I would like to, in particular, thank some of the sponsors with us today. Never heard his name in the same sentence as the word angel, but I do love him. Hometown Senator Andrew Zwicker, Assemblywoman Drulis, each of them from the Rockin' 16th, Majority Leader Senator Teresa Ruiz. Also very happy to have County Executive Dan Benson in the House. My former colleague at Goldman, Princeton Mayor Mark Frieda. Mark, great to see you. Department of Education Commissioner Kevin Damer, other elected officials, board members, all of you who support and input alongside our friends from the NJ Library Association, the Association of School Librarians, the NJEA, the AFT-NJ, and other advocates representing various communities across the Garden State. All of you have been invaluable to getting this legislation across the finish line. Joining us also is Laura Dalden. Laura, where are you? You're on the end. Nice to see you, and I know we're going to hear from you in a moment, also known as Miranda's mom. Is Miranda here? Hello, Miranda. Miranda, please stand up and take a bow. Most importantly, nice to see you. Both Laura and Miranda have been tremendous advocates on behalf of this bill, and I thank them for helping us illustrate what this legislation means to New Jersey's kids and parents. And of course, I want to say thank you to each and every librarian and educator around New Jersey for your work day in and day out to support and educate our state's children. So you'll notice that we are gathered today in a very special location, the Princeton Public Library's Children's Section, a space where countless dreams and passions have been sparked. And this bill that I'll be signing into law in a few moments, the Freedom to Read Act, will ensure generations of New Jersey's children can continue to discover the wonders that await them in the books all around us. This law will also protect the rights of young New Jerseyans to access developmentally appropriate books, including diverse and inclusive materials that will help them learn and grow. And it will ensure that those materials remain accessible in our schools and in our public libraries. Books, as we all know, are the keys to fostering a culture of learning that extends far beyond the classroom. They encourage the curiosity of young readers. And when our kids feel inspired to learn, they will also be inspired to work hard and to dream big. Keeping books on the shelves of our libraries is also crucial to ensuring that every child in New Jersey, no matter their zip code or economic status, can access a whole new world of intellectual discovery free of charge. Here in New Jersey, we have long prided ourselves on our dedication to giving every student a fair shot to learn and to grow. And that is exactly why we've made painstaking efforts to create the best public education system in the entire United States. And it is why we are signing this legislation into law today. The Freedom to Read Act is a crucial step in ensuring we remain the best state to live, work, and raise a family. And as an extension of that, I want to be clear, this law will strengthen, not diminish, the rights of parents to choose what reading materials their children should or should not have access to, by ensuring that every family can make their own determination about what books are appropriate for a child. That is why this legislation mandates that books cannot be removed from our libraries solely based on the origin, background, or views contained within the text, or because an individual finds it offensive. And at the same time, it also empowers local communities to engage in a transparent and thoughtful discussion on the books that should or should not remain in our libraries. Our goal is to encourage parents to be active partners in every step of their child's education and intellectual development. And reading books with your kids or visiting the library together gives families the opportunity to learn together and to watch their kids learn, which I can tell you firsthand is one of the best parts of being a parent. And as always, we encourage every parent to speak up and engage in a good faith conversation if they have any concerns about the materials our state's children can access. But this should always be open, honest, and a civil conversation. We heard Martha share her story just a few minutes ago. We heard both what inspired her to become a librarian, her passion for learning and unlocking the same passion in our kids, but we also heard about the threats she received, the hate mail, and the calls for her firing. Absolutely none of that is acceptable, and it has no place in our libraries or classrooms. That is why this bill includes protections for librarians like Martha Hickson, who have dedicated their lives to fostering a culture of learning, but who in recent years have been the target of unconscionable political attacks. Let us remember that at the end of the day, we all want what is best for our kids. And I believe, just as Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg did, that we, quote, can disagree without being disagreeable. Every family has their own set of values and expectations for their child's education. And we need to respect the right of every parent to make their own decisions about their child's development. By the same token, our children deserve the opportunity to see their own stories reflected on the shelves of our libraries. Our children deserve the chance to see different examples of love, faith, and cultural expression in the books they read. And more than anything, our children deserve every opportunity to cultivate their intellectual curiosity and discover what they are passionate about. This legislation will help every family get what they need out of our libraries, and it will help us be kinder and more civil in doing so. So thank you all so much for being here today. And by the way, please check out a book before you leave, so I get that off my chest. With that, I now want to turn the podium over to really one of the great champions of this piece of legislation and of so many others. Please help me welcome Senator Andrew Zwicker.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Let me start by thanking Governor Murphy for his leadership and commitment, as we heard, to intellectual freedom, the Princeton Public Library for hosting us, and Jen Podolsky, sorry for that, but thank you for your leadership here at this library. This library is an enduring space of the power of libraries to foster knowledge, equity, and inclusion in our communities, and thank you for that. I have a lot of people I'd like to thank as we get to this moment for tireless efforts and our incredible partners who made this day possible. ACLU of New Jersey, the NJEA, and in particular Fran Pfeffer for her work, Garden State Equality, the Bayard Rustin Center, SWEEP, all of our library groups, the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, the State Library, the State Librarian, the New Jersey Library Association, New Jersey Principals and Supervisors, and the school administrators. I'd also like to thank faith and cultural groups such as the Sikh Coalition and the AAPI of New Jersey for your unwavering advocacy for the intellectual freedom and equitable access to knowledge that has been instrumental in advancing this legislation. To my majority leader, I am profoundly grateful for our partnership here and for your unwavering leadership on this topic for the last practically 18 months. To your staff and to mine for all their work, to Assemblywoman Drulis for ensuring that while the Senate and the Assembly were in lockstep each part of the way. And I have to give an enormous thanks in particular to my chief of staff who's hiding in the corner way over there, Kaylee Livornia. Kaylee took hours upon hours of meetings with all the stakeholders I mentioned and more, both those who supported this legislation and also those who did not, to, as the governor, as you talked about, listen with civility to people on all sides of this issue. Tremendously grateful that we're here. And finally, to Martha. Got a lot of thanks. Martha is, as you heard, the embodiment of the spirit of the Freedom to Read Act. The 2023 Librarian of the Year by the New Jersey Librarian Association, nationally recognized for your work. You stood courageously at the front lines of the battle against book bans. You fought repeated attempts to remove these books, as you told us. Your resilience, your dedication are inspiration to me personally, to everybody here, and everybody who's watching right now. You remind us that this fight for intellectual... You're going to make me cry now. You remind us that this fight for intellectual freedom that we are taking a big step forward today is far from over. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you. As a child, my love for learning was nurtured by two extraordinary women. My mother, who was a public school English teacher, and my stepmother, who was a librarian. And to all the librarians in the room right now, I just want to say I deeply appreciate the critical work you do every day as you serve our communities. But it is 2024, and we are fighting for something as fundamental as the freedom to read. In the 2023-24 academic year, PEN America tracked more than 10,000 book bans in public schools around this country. The stories silenced, as you heard, are disproportionately those of marginalized communities. 44% of banned books center on characters of color or themes of race or racism. 39% explore LGBTQ+ characters or themes. That is not a coincidence. These bans are a deliberate effort to erase voices and perspectives that challenge the status quo, often under the guise of protecting children from discomfort. Yet the vast majority of educators, those closest to our students, oppose book bans. A 2023 survey found that 87% of educators believe book bans are rarely or never justified. And when books are banned, it doesn't just undermine their expertise, it distracts from the teaching and increases their stress. And Martha explained that to us as well as anyone possibly could. More importantly, it denies students the opportunity to engage with diverse, challenging, and thought-provoking ideas that foster empathy and critical thinking. The Freedom to Read Act is a bold response to this growing wave of censorship. It establishes clear, transparent processes for reviewing library materials, ensuring that parents, students, and librarians all have a voice. It protects library staff acting in good faith from civil and criminal lawsuits, and it affirms a simple but powerful principle. You have the freedom to choose what you want to read. Parents have the freedom to decide what their children read. They always have, and they always will. But no one in New Jersey will ever get a chance to make that choice for you. This law is not about imposing one viewpoint over another. It is about preserving the right of every individual to access knowledge, explore diverse perspectives, and to decide for themselves what is meaningful and valuable. And I am just so proud to stand with everyone here today, the countless educators, librarians, and advocates who made this moment possible. Today, we send a clear message throughout New Jersey and throughout the rest of the United States that New Jersey stands firmly on the side of intellectual freedom, inclusivity, and respect for our educators and our librarians. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you for your unwavering support of the freedom to read.
So well said, Andrew, and thank you again for your leadership. We would not be here today without you. Please help me welcome another outstanding leader in the Senate. She is associated with so many good things we've done together over the past many years. Please help me welcome the Majority Leader, Senator Teresa Ruiz.
Good morning, everyone. So Andrew Zwicker profoundly thanked me. I only came here to profoundly thank you, and I'll tell you why. So great minds always think alike. Simultaneously, I believe there were two versions of a bill that got introduced in the Senate. And one budget hearing, my colleague says, your story. I was at an event. What do you think? I said, this is really in your backyard. It has touched you in some way. I did not know all of the backstory fundamentally about your family experience, and really recognizing what was, because it was very personal. As much as it was personal to me, I said, great, I'll go second. Let's merge the bills. That landed us on CNN. Do you remember that? It was great. He's wearing the socks that he wore that day. I had some phenomenal shoes, and all the camera people were uncertain who was rocking the best footwear. Was it Zwicker or was it me? And I said, obviously it was me. There wasn't any point of contention. But while we were having this discussion on national media, you know, there were Twitter responses going on, and the reporter leaned over and said to me, what do you tell the mother whose daughter went to the library and picked up 50 Shades of Grey and she's 6 years old? I said, look in her book bag, right? I share this with you because it happened at home. Everybody gets the Scholastic book fairs at school. My daughter goes to school. She has her money in her e-wallet. She goes to purchase books. She's into all this, you know, it's borderline wicked, borderline magic, and comes home with some title that's like The Diaries of the Girl from Beyond. I was like, Silver, I don't think this is appropriate reading level for you. And the book went back. See, we understand that our public libraries are places for choice, are places for anyone who wants to get a fact-checked resource on a shelf on any subject matter can reach out without any opinion, without any disturbance, grab a book, seek out an individual who's an expert in that space where they can get more guidance and really delve into a subject matter that they think is personal to them. But it doesn't end there. if in fact your household is not aligned with whatever that subject matter is, that opens up opportunities for conversations, to explore, to engage in different ideology, or to say, this book is not for your age demographic and it's going to go back. I am sorry that you had to deal with what you had to deal with for protecting our students, for protecting public shelves, for protecting our communities, for keeping the doors open for choices and rights. That is what this country's principle and where it came from, was making sure that everyone has an opportunity for choice. I am just honored to have been part of this process, to have watched you in leadership modes during a very lengthy committee hearing that I unfortunately cannot attend that day, to give you the support, to our offices who picked up every single phone call as they were getting yelled at and threatened themselves. We are doing nothing here in the state of New Jersey except protecting the principle of what our public libraries stand for. You know, people can go on the internet, but if you're young and you're doing research, sometimes those resources that pop up are not from areas that are fact-checked or scientifically correct. Walk into a library and get a book on any single subject matter, and you can believe that what you're reading, it is meant to be dealt with in that moment and what you're looking for. And so to our governor, who's always understood the purpose of government, not to impede and say, hey, I don't like this, you must like it. But it's okay for the two of us to be in the same space if we don't like exactly what we're talking about. I can select it and you don't have to. But today it's protected. So to everyone engaged, to the students who stepped up and really showed what democracy was about, for the women who protected our public library shelves, for the parents who supported those young students to come down to Trenton, for all of our colleagues, and for the Republicans who made this a bipartisan effort, who really understood what was in the depths of this law, I say to them thank you as well, and congratulations to everyone.
So well said, and I love the fact that there are folks on both sides of the aisle who stood up for this, which makes it even more powerful. Thank you, Teresa, for those great words. You need two chambers to pass a bill, and there's no better representative on the Assembly side of someone who cared passionately about this. Please help me again welcome another member of the 16th Legislative District, Assemblywoman Drulis. Again, sorry about your loss, too.
I just would like to start off by thanking the governor for signing this bill. My remarks are going to be quick because I'm very excited to see this become law. But I couldn't, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Senator Andrew Zwicker for inviting me to work with you on this important legislation. You've always been a leader, and I'm thrilled that we were able to work together and get this done. Thank you to Senator Ruiz, to Martha Hickson, and to all the advocates, which the senator mentioned in his speech, so I won't repeat them, for all the work that you did. I also want to thank Speaker Coughlin for posting this bill in the Assembly, and to mention my Assembly co-prime sponsors, Assemblywoman Sumter and Congressman-elect Conway, for the work that they did to get this bill across the line. I also want to thank the Princeton Mayor, Mark Frieda, and the Princeton Library for having us here today to sign this important legislation. As a parent, I cannot be more thrilled with this legislation and to get it passed. I've spent with my own family so much time in the library, and it is such a magical place, and it should remain a magical place where children's ideas and their imagination can grow. You look around and you see all these amazing books. It's also an important part of teaching our kids critical thinking, which is more important now than ever. So, Governor, thank you so much for signing this legislation. I thank you all for being here with us today, and I can't wait to see this become law. Thank you.
Well done. Last but not least, we mentioned parents a lot today, and parents always, as Andrew said, always have and always will have a say in education and what gets read and They're incredibly important seats at the table. And we have one with us today. We have many with us today, including yours truly, but one is going to speak. Again, Miranda's mom, please help me welcome Laura Delden.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am Laura Delden, and I'm here not only as a citizen who values education, but as a parent who believes in the power of books. My daughter, Miranda, is a Princeton Charter School alumna, a junior at the Lawrenceville School, a proud Latina, and a fearless advocate for equity and belonging in education, sports, and politics. Her belief in the power of inclusive stories led her to write and direct a documentary advocating for the Freedom to Read Act, raising awareness about it across the state, and testifying before the Senate Education Committee earlier this year. Miranda, alongside her high school friends, interviewed supporters and opponents of book bans across New Jersey, recording close to 10 hours of powerful footage. Their work documented both the efforts to ban books and the fight to protect them. Their research uncovered that many arguments against banning books about BIPOC and LGBTQ plus communities are rooted on fear, often leading to prejudice, homophobia, transphobia, racism, and xenophobia. Their research also exposed organized efforts by conservative groups to resist diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in public schools and public libraries, frequently using the language of resistance to promote hostility and intolerance towards DEI values. As someone who closely followed their work, I can say that the most challenging aspect for the kids in producing this documentary was the emotional toll of engaging with individuals who sought to silence underrepresented voices. The most rewarding and inspiring part for the kids was meeting courageous librarians and educators like Martha Hickson, Miss Jenny Pooh, Miss Auletta, Miss Sunday, Miss Powell, remarkable individuals who have shown unwavering bravery defending the right to read inclusively, even while facing harassment and intimidation from book banners. As a parent, I believe the best way to protect our children is by equipping them with the tools to think critically, empathize with others, engage civically, and understand the diverse world we live in. Books are not threats. They are tools to help our children navigate life with perspective, courage, and compassion. The Freedom to Read Act is vital because it ensures that every child has access to stories that reflect the full spectrum of human experiences. These stories, carefully selected by professional librarians and often award-winning, allow children to see themselves in the pages of a book and connect with perspectives that are different from their own. For students from underrepresented backgrounds, inclusive literature can be life-changing because it sends a clear and powerful message. You belong, your story matters. Book removal claims that unfairly target specific groups send the opposite message, that some voices are not worth hearing and that some stories should be erased. This kind of censorship does not protect children. It harms them. It isolates them and hurts their ability to grow into thoughtful, empathetic adults who can contribute meaningfully to their communities. I'm incredibly proud of young leaders who are standing up courageously to protect inclusive stories and our right to access inclusive literature. Their advocacy reminds us that this isn't just about education. It's also about safeguarding democracy. My daughter often says inclusive stories are about being represented with dignity and respect. And I agree. Allowing censorship to take root erodes the very foundation of free thought and representation that strengthens our democracy and our pluralistic society. So I urge everyone here to support the Freedom to Read Act. As parents, we all want the best for our kids. Let's give them the tools and opportunity to learn, to question, and to grow through the power of inclusive literature. As a parent, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to Martha Hickson, to Jenny Poo, to Jen Podolsky, and all the librarians across this nation who are fighting this battle with courage and integrity. I'm also deeply thankful to elected leaders like Senator Zwicker, Senator Ruiz, Councilwoman Drulis, and Governor Murphy for championing these ideals, taking a stand against bigotry, and using their leadership to ensure that students and readers across New Jersey have access to inclusive literature. Thank you.
That was very, very powerful. I think you left your magazine here. I'll make a heavy point and a lighter point. The heavy point is I stand here as a proud New Jerseyan, but as an American with a heavy heart. I'm incredibly proud of what we're doing today, and I'm incredibly proud of what we've done now for almost 7 years, working with a rockin' legislature, great local and county colleagues, lots of advocates who have stood by our side. But sadly, due to a now about to be federal administration again and a U.S. Supreme Court, which are heavily on the other side of this, it really matters more than ever before which state you live in, you choose to bring your family up in, where you choose to work. This is yet another example. Not every state is doing what we're doing today. In fact, many states are doing the opposite. And indeed, we're not a clean shot either. There were protesters in and around this library today, folks who see this on the other side. But I want to reiterate, there were also some courageous Republicans who stood up and supported this bill. So while I'm incredibly proud to be a part of the New Jersey family, and in my case, in many respects, lead it, I have a very heavy heart as I think about an America that's a patchwork quilt nation and is about to become even more so. And we won't be immune. We will not be immune from assaults on our values, on our communities, on our immigrant brothers and sisters, on our LGBTQIA plus brothers and sisters, especially in the trans community. So we'll do everything we can to protect reproductive freedom, to have sensible gun safety laws, to protect communities, to protect and preserve our environment. But we're going to be up against it. But today is a day that gives us great pride. I've got 4 kids. One of them is Charlie Murphy, 23 years old, a Princeton University grad, I might add. I promised him whenever I'm in a library, I will tell his favorite library joke. Young lad goes up to the librarian and says, I'll have a quarter pounder, a large fry, and a medium Coke. And the librarian says, young man, we're in a library. And he responds, oh, sorry, I'll have a quarter pounder. Let's sign this thing. This will be the money shot, even though I can't see a thing. Oops, sorry. Everybody good? Okay. So this is Assembly Bill 3446. The synopsis is the Freedom to Read Act. Establishes requirements for library material in public school libraries and public libraries, protects school library staff members and librarians. Sponsored in the Assembly by the aforementioned Michelle Drulis and Shavonda Sumter, Herb Conaway Jr., about to be Congressman Herb Conaway, and in the Senate by our 2 other speakers, Senator Andrew Zwicker and Majority Leader Senator Teresa Ruiz. A whole host of co-sponsors, and I'm just looking through I want to give Senator Bramnick in particular a shout out for for standing up and being one of the co-sponsors. I mentioned John because he is a Republican. So here we go. 9th, right? December 9th? First pen, how could it not go to Martha Hickson, retired librarian and American hero? Like, was there any debate that wouldn't go to Martha? Not by me, there wasn't. Next up, again, no debate, Senator Andrew Zwicker. We just heard from her, Laura DeOlden. Laura, where are you? Congratulations. Senate Majority Leader, Senator Teresa Ruiz.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Assemblywoman Michelle Drulis. Michelle, where are you? Okay, I got Jeff Cupo, who's the president of the New Jersey Library Association. Jeff, Jeff, I got a picture and a bio for everybody who's in an event. You were wearing a way cool hat.
Oh my God, that one.
Was it a three-corner hat?
Yes, I'm an aficionado.
Did you bring it with you today?
I should have. You should have.
Just wanted to make sure I had the same Jeff Cupo.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you, babe. The president of the New Jersey Education Association, Sean Spiller. Excellent. Okay. I hope we have enough letters or numbers. Please help me welcome, let's hear it for the president of the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, Karen Grant. Karen, congratulations. Well done. County Executive, dear friend, great leader, Dan Benson. Dan? Jennifer Nelson, State Librarian, New Jersey State Library. Jennifer, where are you? Congratulations. Well done. A dear friend, Christian Fuscarino, the Executive Director of Garden State Equality. We're almost there. Should be another hour or so. Louise Walpin, the Director of Advocacy and Organizing at Sweet NJ. Louise, where are you? Congratulations. Well done. I was with him Saturday night, at least to the best of my recollection, the Executive Director of the American Civil Liberties Union of New Jersey, Amol Sinha. I get Jennifer Higgins, President of the American Federation of Teachers, New Jersey. Is Jen here or not? Jen, congratulations. Got a couple more here. Is this the end of the line?
No, I have
You got some more?
Yeah.
That's all right. You sell these out in the street, or what do you do? I want to give one to Miranda DeOlden, who's to my left. Congratulations. I'm going to give him one last one. I mentioned he and I used to work together on Wall Street. Please don't hold that against us. The mayor of Princeton, Mark Burgess. This is now the law of the land. Another money shot here. Everybody good? Thank you all. Don't lose this. Well done. Congrats, buddy.